So, breastfeeding. I don't wanna. I'm gonna, but I really don't wanna. So, there it is. It's out there. Y'all can judge as much as you want. But here's the thing. I feel like this is okay. The topic of breastfeeding itself is not taboo. Plenty of people talk about it. You know, the whole normalizing whatever, like, I have mixed thoughts on that and how people go about certain things. That's not the topic of this video though. So we'll leave that out because I could go on and on and on about that. But I feel like there's definitely a stigma whenever it comes to not wanting to breastfeed. So that's what I want to talk about. And I feel like this might just end up being a whole series of, you know, just things pertaining to mom life that I just really don't want to do. And it sounds bad or whatever you want to say, but any of you that have followed me for a while, you know that I have very definite opinions on things, and I'm not really afraid to say those opinions, even if it makes people unsubscribe or not like it or whatever it is. I do this because I want to do it, and I talk about what I want to talk about, so I'm not going to censor myself in that way. But I feel like there are plenty of videos out there being encouraging about breastfeeding, and, you know, like, those are necessary for some people because, you know, I've heard, obviously I haven't done it yet, but I've heard that it can be a very discouraging experience for some people because it doesn't always go in the magical, you know, Disneyland way that you think it will go, where everything is just wonderful. But I also feel like there is a need for there to be videos saying that it's perfectly okay if you don't want to do it, if you choose not to do it at all, or if you try and you're just like, I don't like this. So that's what this is for. I will go ahead and say that my opinion on this is set in stone. It is finite. I have made my decision, and no amount of like subtle shaming or anything is going to change that. So keep that in mind because I don't want you to waste your time trying to change my mind. So let's get into this. I have a lot of thoughts, and you know what? Honestly, sometimes I try to get my thoughts in order before I do a video like this, but I didn't do that this time. So we're just gonna talk stream of consciousness. I know, and I think a lot of us know that, or most of us know that breastfeeding and breast milk is best for the baby in terms of early development. There's a lot of great things about breast milk, and there's a lot of great bonding type of things that can happen with breastfeeding. So that is the reason why I'm gonna do it. But I don't want to, like, period, flat out, I don't want to do it. And if I could get away with completely not doing it, like if I had a valid reason for myself other than I just don't want to do it, then I flat out would not do it. And it remains to be seen, like perhaps I won't produce any milk, you know, like there's any number of things that can go wrong. And in that instance, if it does go wrong and I just can't do it, I'm not going to be heartbroken about it. Like, because I don't want to. Maybe take a drink. Wait, we're pregnant here. Take a drink of OJ every time I say I don't want to. If you're not pregnant, then have at it. But anyway, so let's just, where do I want to start? I feel like whenever it comes to this subject, especially the subject of not wanting to do it, or also in some cases not being able to do it and still being shamed by that by other people, there are so many high horses whenever it comes to this subject that it's like more than in a parade, you know. It is a parade of high horse ponies up in here, and I don't get that. This is my take on pretty much everything in life. If it does not personally affect you, and your life, don't give it your energy. Now, if you have a platform, like I have a platform with this channel, and you want to say your opinions about things, go ahead and do it. By all means, I feel like having differentiating opinions, that's not even the right word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean. Different opinions out there about things can help people to form their own basis for how they want to think about something. But the part that I don't like is whenever people that disagree with someone go on their social media or whatever it is and proceed to shame them. You can shame away all you want on your own platform, but don't go to someone else and deliberately try to make them feel bad about something, because that's just a waste of your time and theirs. So that's how I feel about that. I think that because we know that breastfeeding and breast milk is so good for a baby, that's why so many people feel very strongly about it. But again, you can do what you like with your own child, but you need to allow other people to do what they like with their children. So not everyone is going to agree. Not everyone is going to be on your team. They're going to be on somebody else's team. It is what it is. But I feel like as long as you can do what you want with your own child within the law, within certain morals and ethics, then just do that, and let the other people live their lives. I don't understand whenever I see videos about like breastfeeding, or I see Facebook posts about breastfeeding or whatever it is, where the person is like, oh, I'm not producing enough milk, I'm having to supplement with formula, yada, 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 whatever the reasoning is. And then there are inevitably people in the comments saying, you're not trying hard enough, your baby is going to be stupid whenever they grow up, yada, 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 because of all of this stuff. And I'm just like, really? Really? Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to be nice, calm Lindsey today, because you guys know I can just pop off. But I don't understand that mentality of like attacking others for not being able to or wanting to do the same thing that you do. So I have various reasons for not wanting to breastfeed. And truth be told, even though I'm gonna, logistically speaking, I pretty much cannot after 3 months. So 3 months is my goal. And honestly, I feel like my body is just kind of on loan to my child at that point. And then it's mine. I get it back at the end of that period, because that's about as much as I can handle. So my reasonings behind it are that first and foremost, I will be a working mom, more than likely. Our plans are very fluid right now because life is fluid. Luckily, we do have the ability to take pretty much as much time off as we want, but in that comes the fact that we won't be making money for the time that we are taking off. So since we are in a really good position right now with work and stuff, we're making a nice amount of money for the lifestyle that we like to live. We don't want to give that up and end up providing a lesser lifestyle for our child. So for us, it's more important to go back to work. Right now, that's what we're thinking. But like I said, things can change. So depending on what happens once baby arrives, we will go back to work anywhere between 3 and 6 months after he comes. If there are any complications, or if we just feel like we need more time or whatever, then we'll push it back toward that 6-month mark. But right now, if everything goes good, we're thinking about going back 3 months after he arrives. So logistically speaking, there can be no more breastfeeding after that amount of time, because I won't be here all the time to be pumping and being able to put it in the freezer and all that stuff. Like, it just logistically speaking, it's not going to work. But also, and I feel like this is maybe one of the more controversial things, is that oftentimes I feel like once you become a mom, the public consensus is that you are now a mom and you have to put away every other aspect of your life. And I'm like, no thanks. So even though I will be a mom, I still am a woman. I still am a wife and a friend and a coworker and all these other things. I'm not just going to be a mom. So part of that comes with being a woman and being a wife is that certain aspects of my body are for personal enjoyment, let's say, and for the enjoyment of my spouse or whatever. And I don't want to have a baby permalatched onto my personal space all the time. And I don't want to begin feeling like this is all I'm good for, is to provide this milk for the child. I want my stuff back. This is on loan for like the next, for basically a year. The, in utero time plus that 3 months of breastfeeding. That's it. A 1 year lease, and that's all you get. Because I don't want to become one of those women, which, let me not sound judgy, because I'm not. It's just that this is what's right for me. So I don't want to become one of those women that lets her personal relationships slip because the child is the whole center of the universe. I don't feel like for me and my family, that's a healthy thing to do. So for me and my family, I'm going to choose not to do that. And I also feel like, aside from the fun aspect of them, let's talk about the actual like feeding part of them. I have watched a lot of videos. I have talked to a lot of friends, and it's not a fun experience. It can be painful during the feeding, and also if you get like complications that arise through like infections or clogged ducts and all that stuff. And I personally feel like we focus a lot on what is best for the baby, and as we should, okay, as we should. But we forget sometimes, I think, that what is best for the baby doesn't always mean what is best only for the baby. Because as the caregiver of the baby, as the parent, as the one that's primarily there doing, feedings and whatnot, and just taking care of your new child. I don't know whatever word I was searching for there, but your child. You also have to take into account your own mental health and fostering that relationship with your spouse. So while you could be doing everything to help the baby, if you are in a bad headspace, that's not good for the baby. If your relationship is crumbling because of, letting things slide and not being there as a wife and a mother, then that's not good for the baby. So you have to take into account the big picture and not just the small little post-it note picture of it. So I feel like that's something that never really gets discussed whenever it comes to breastfeeding and talking about why you may not want to breastfeed for a prolonged period of time and stuff like that. You have to take care of the whole 360 and not just like that little 90-degree corner, not to minimize the importance of your child, but to allow them to have an overall healthy well-being and upbringing and stuff. Everything has to be good within their orbit, so you have to be in a good space. You have to be in a good space with your partner. You have to be in a good space with your child. They have to be in a good space. Everything has to be good. So for me, I know that because I don't want to do it, if I were to force myself to do it for a prolonged period of time, or if let's say that there was some sort of crazy rule that you had to breastfeed for a certain amount of time, I would be freaking miserable. I'd be miserable. And knowing me, I tend to bottle things in and then be like, oh, all right, now let's have this out. And I don't want to have that feeling, whenever it comes to anything like that. So it's like taking care of my own mental space, taking care of my relationship is then therefore also taking care of the welfare of the child. So for me, that's another big reason why, is that because I know I don't want to do it. That's what's going to be best for him. And also, a lot of people talk about the bond whenever you are breastfeeding. And I feel like, wow, I'm sure that is a thing. You do bond while you're breastfeeding. I feel like it minimizes any sort of relationship that adoptive parents have with their children, any sort of relationship that, let's say, a single dad would have with his child, whatever circumstance that came up where he's the one taking care of the child instead of the mother. It minimizes the bond that a mother who just can't produce milk has with her child. So to say that, oh, you're only getting this great bonding time whenever you're breastfeeding is in a lot of ways very elitist. And I don't really like that mentality toward it, because then it's saying, well, I'm better than you because I'm choosing to breastfeed, or because I can breastfeed. And it just doesn't sit well with me, because you are no better a parent if you are exclusively breastfeeding for long periods of time than the person that wanted to and can't, or the person that just physically can't, or whatever it may be. So I don't like that kind of mentality around it, that one form of nursing is better than the other. And also, even though I plan on breastfeeding, maybe for that first 3 months, I'm still going to be pumping, because I want my husband also to be giving our baby bottles. Not only because it allows me to sleep a little bit more at night, because I know I'm going to need it, and he needs to get up also, but because it gives him that ability to be the one feeding and bonding with the child, because bonding doesn't just come from sucking on the old boob. It comes from skin to skin contact, from just being around them, from being the one that they smell and see and touch and hear, all the senses. It comes from all of that. So I don't want to be the only one that's really getting that bonding time with our child. I want my husband to be doing that. And I also want my sleep. And it's so funny because he knows I really don't want to do it. And honestly, if I could just exclusively pump and not even have to do the latching thing, I would do that. But I've heard that it does just drain you, because you have to constantly be pumping to keep up with it, where it is just easier to just pop it out when you need to. But he jokes with me, because he knows that I really don't want to do this, that whenever our kid is 8, he's still going to be coming up and ripping off my shirt, because he knows that thought disturbs me so much. That kid in Game of Thrones that was still partaking, and he was legit 12 years old. If that's something that you do, that is perfectly fine. That is a-okay. But I would not ever, never in a million years, you could not pay me enough money, because for me personally, I think that's really weird. For me, that would be extremely weird to think about and to do. I just could not. Even whenever they are 4, no. I feel like once you get to the point where you're feeding yourself, even if I was still breastfeeding, that would be the time that I'd be ending that. Because I don't know, man. That's just it's not for me. Not at all. So, it always disturbs me whenever he jokes with me about that, because I'm I just can't. I don't want that vision in my head because I find it very disturbing. And that's that, like I said, if it's for you, then it's for you, but it is not for me. So I feel like that's probably what I have to say about this. Just be conscious of the fact that no one parent is better than the other just because they make different choices than you would make. There are definitely parents that make choices that I would never make in a million years regarding many things to do with parenting and upbringing of children. But I don't think that they're any less than me or than what I will be. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how I turn out, but I don't think that they're any less than me. They just make different decisions. And as long as your decisions aren't affecting my child, then I don't really care what you do, and vice versa. Like, I'm not going to make a decision for my child that's going to negatively impact someone else's. So there shouldn't be any issues, So just be mindful of that if you are the type of person that publicly shames people for being unable to or not wanting to breastfeed. It is a personal choice, and not everyone is down for it, honestly. And I was formula fed. My husband was formula fed. Lots of people I know were formula fed. We all turned out just fine. So I think the whole like, oh, they'll be so much smarter, blah, 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 is a crock of poo. It's a big old diaper genie full of poo. Because there are so many formula fed people that turned out just fine. So don't put that stuff on people, just let them live their lives. And there you go. That's why I don't want to breastfeed. And that's why I'm going to do it for as little as frickin' possible. TBH. So I hope that you guys got whatever you got from this video, and I will catch you next time. Bye.